Dr. Srinivas, shall we start?
Yes, ma'am, fine.
So good afternoon and welcome back to all the participants and the speaker to the afternoon session of AICT sponsored FDP Phase 2 organized by the Department of Biotechnology, the Oxford College of Engineering. So today we have our speaker, Dr. Srinivas Mutalik. He is working as a professor and head of the Department of Pharmaceutics in Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Manipal. He has completed his PhD in the year 2004 from Manipal Academy of Higher Education and a 3-year of postdoctoral studies from the University of Queensland, Australia, and was a visiting researcher at A-Star Institute, Singapore. Dr. Mutalik has a good professional experience in academics and in pharmaceutical industry at different capacities. Dr. Mutalik has published more than 150 papers in reputed journals and has 9 patents to his credit. He has presented research findings at various national and international conferences and delivered several guest lectures. Dr. Mutalik has received several research grants from funding agencies such as DPT, DST, ICMR, AICTE, SERB, BIRAC, GST, and several pharmaceutical companies. He has received several awards like Dr. TMA Gold Medal Award for Outstanding Research, Best Poster Oral Presentation Awards, Distinguished Alumni Award, APTA Young Pharmacy Teacher Award, PGST Award for Best Research Paper, etc. Dr. Mutalik is supervisor for several PhD and postgraduate students. He is the life member of various professional organizations. Dr. Mutalik's research interests include development and evaluation of novel drug delivery system and nanopharmaceuticals. Sir, we are very delighted to have you as a guest speaker for today. We welcome you, sir. So it's over to you to start with the session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And first of all, I thank the organizers, especially Manjunath sir, for giving me the opportunity to give a talk here. Yeah, the topic is nano carriers as drug delivery vehicles, overview and case studies. So in this, I will be covering about the nano carriers and then specifically the lipidic nano carriers on which we are working extensively. We are working on polymeric also as well as dendrimers, but in this topic I am covering the lipidic nanoparticles, and I will be showing some of the experimentation or reports what we have performed in the lab.
Sir, could you switch on your video, sir?
No, I am not able to do that.
Then you may continue, sir. That's okay.
Yeah, because to do that, I have to discontinue that. I should stop the sharing and then I can do this. Right?
Then you continue without the video, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So coming to the okay, sorry. This is okay. Coming to the introduction. Briefly, I will be telling about drug delivery systems and their importance, and after that going to the nanopharmaceuticals or nano carriers for drug delivery. Initially, the drug delivery systems, they were considered only as a means of getting the drug into the patient's body. For example, various dosage forms like tablets, capsules, syrups, or other dosage forms, they were just meant to administer the drug into the patient's body like injections. But later on, it was found that drug delivery systems, they have significant effect on the safety, efficacy, and patient compliance or convenience. So to overcome the disadvantages of conventional drug delivery systems, they are nothing but simple uncoated tablets or simple syrup or simple capsule. Novel drug delivery systems came into the picture. These novel drug delivery systems are designed to release the drug in a sustained or controlled release manner, deliver the drugs to target site at a rate and concentration for therapeutic effect and to reduce the side effects. So here you can just understand the simple example, like if we are taking 3 tablets or 4 tablets in a day, that is very much inconvenient to the patient, and many times the patient will skip the dose at the night when the patient is sleeping or like that. To overcome these disadvantages like frequency of administration, we can put all the doses in one tablet and make it sustained release for 24 hours. So by this we can avoid the frequent doses, like more than one doses will be avoided, and only once, if the patient takes the tablet only once, that is enough. And by this what happens, we are making the tablet to release the drug in a very slow release manner, so that the peaks and troughs in the plasma, that is a blood concentration of drug, will be uniform. There will not be any peak or trough. So with this, the therapeutic efficacy or therapeutic effect will be uniform, and the diseased condition will be treated promptly. So these are called as a sustained release or a controlled release, where we are simply prolonging the drug release over a period of time, over a long period of time. In market, you can see that some tablets are available as SR. SR is nothing but sustained release. Or TR. TR is nothing but timed release, where we are going to make the tablet or capsule in such a way that a particular dose of the drug is released in the body. You can the classical example is Voveron SR, diclofenac sodium, which is being marketed by Novartis. That is famous brand of Novartis. Voveron SR. SR is nothing but sustained release. So broadly, we can categorize the dosage forms into 3 generations. Like first generation will be conventional or unmodified release of drug. For example, Dolo 650 or paracetamol uncoated tablet that comes under this category. It is the simple one without having any special effect. Second one is controlled or sustained release dosage form. That is nothing but second generation. As I gave the example of Voveron SR, diclofenac sodium sustained release tablet, that comes under this category. That where we are simply making the tablet to release the drug in a controlled or sustained manner. That's all. We are prolonging the release rate of the drug for longer period of time. Third generation is nothing but targeted delivery of the drug, where we are going to use the nanoparticles to gather the drug only in a particular tissue or the cells. So that is nothing but targeted delivery of the drug. So for example, if you see this figure, the drug is if it is not targeted, and if it is given by intravenous or some other route injection, and it will be distributed throughout the body. Whereas suppose if we are going to make the nanoparticles, load the drug, and then conjugate the nanoparticles with a particular ligand, and then it will go and target to a particular area or particular cells in the body, so that the unnecessary distribution of the drug in the body will be avoided. If you see this picture, these peaks and troughs, they indicate the conventional dosage form. That is nothing but, for example, uncoated tablets or capsule. And here the pink one, what you are seeing, this red one, is nothing but the sustained release dose. So where we are putting all the 3 doses. Here 3 doses are given: 8th hour one, 16th hour one, and 24th hour one. All the 3 doses will be placed in one tablet, and it is made to release the drug slowly within the therapeutic window. This is called as therapeutic window. That is the desired concentration of the drug. It will be released for longer period of time. So this peaks and trough is nothing but the conventional. This is sustained release, and the second image is nothing but the targeted delivery of the drug, where nanotechnology is used to fabricate the nanoparticles, to fabricate the targeted delivery systems. So nano has come from the word that is a Greek word. Nano means dwarf, that is tiny. Then this is research and technology development at atomic or macromolecular level in the length scale of 1 to 100 nanometers. So for pharmaceutical applications, we go up to 1000 nanometers, but ideally it is 1 to 100 nanometers. Nanocarriers possess properties such as biodegradability, biocompatibility, conjugation, complexation, encapsulation, etc., by which we can get desired properties for the drug delivery systems. In this area, opportunities and rewards are great, and hence there is tremendous interest worldwide. So why nanotechnology is important in drug delivery? First one is because of prolonged release. So by which increased duration of action and decreased administration frequency is achieved. For example, nanoparticles, they are very, very small, so we can give them by intravenous route by infusions or by bolus injection. And when they are in the body, they can circulate for longer period of time, and finally they will lodge in the area where they are specifically targeted. Suppose if they are not specifically targeted, still if we pegylate them, if we add the PEG moiety onto the nanoparticles, they will circulate for longer period of time, and hence we are going to get the prolonged release. Next is improved dissolution rate and stability of the drug. This is very important with respect to oral administration of the drug. So when we take any drugs, first it should be dissolved and then it will be absorbed. So dissolution is the hindrance for good absorption. So by nanotechnology we can overcome the dissolution problems and we can improve the dissolution rate. When the dissolution rate is improved, the absorption will obviously increase. Then circulate in the body and penetrates tissues, for example tumors, where we are going to get enhanced permeability. This is popularly known as EPR effect, that is enhanced permeation and retention effect in tumors. Then targeted, because tumors will be having the leaky vasculature and the nanoparticles will be entering into the tumor and entangled within the capillaries and it won't come out, so that the targeting will be achieved. Next is targeted release will protect other tissues because drug will not be unnecessarily distributed throughout the body. Then because of this drug targeting, we can achieve lower dose of the drug. Then improved pharmacokinetics properties, like the nanoparticles will change the absorption rate, biodistribution rate, and elimination rate, and we can get desired pharmacokinetic properties. Then decreased harmful side effects, which is achieved by targeting the drug to a particular tissue or cells, by using low dose of the drug and by altering drug accumulation. Okay, how are these nanocarriers more effective? One is a small size increases surface area and enhances dissolution rate. Second one is because of increased dissolution rate, improved absorption, and finally improved bioavailability. Bioavailability is nothing but the rate and extent at which the drug enters into the blood circulation, that is bioavailability. When the absorption is improved, at that time, obviously the bioavailability will also increase. Next is by targeting, we are going to reduce the total dose, or when the dissolution rate is improved, we are going to reduce the total dose, and hence side effects are reduced. Next is improved stability and shelf life. So here, for example, if you take the example of curcumin undergoes photodegradation, but the liposomal curcumin has shown better stability compared to the plain curcumin. So it improves, the nanocarriers improve the stability and shelf life of the drugs. Then sustained release. Here nanocarriers reduce frequency of the administration and improve the patient compliance because they circulate in the body for longer period of time, and hence we get the sustained release of the drug. And finally, because of active targeting, that is by decorating the nanoparticles with particular ligand, we can get the drug targeting to localize the drug in a particular tissue or particular cells. We will see the targeted drug delivery, which is most important part of nanoparticles. This implies for selective and effective localization of drugs into the vicinity of pre-identified targeted areas in the therapeutic concentration. So this active targeting or targeted drug delivery, this results in significant reduction in drug toxicity, drug dose, and increased treatment efficacy. If you see, this is the nanocarrier, and then drug will be loaded, or we can load the drug during preparation of nanocarrier itself. Drug will be inside in that case. Then we are attaching the targeting molecule onto the nanoparticles, and this is the targeted drug delivery system having this ligand, drug, and nanoparticle. So this whole thing is nothing but targeted drug delivery system. So there are several approaches for nanoparticles to target the drug to a particular cells or tissues. That is, one is passive targeting. In this case, we are not attaching any ligand. And in case of active targeting, we are going to attach or conjugate a particular ligand. In case of passive targeting, because of pathophysiological factors, for example, EPR effect, enhanced permeation and retention effect, especially in tumor, we can get the targeting. Next one is physicochemical factors, for example, size and molecular weight. Third one is anatomical opportunities, direct injection into the tumor that will enable the targeting. And fourth one is chemical approach. We are going to make the prodrugs, and they will be ineffective until it goes to a particular site or to a particular cells. So then it will be getting activated and becomes drug. That is chemical approach. In all these cases, we don't use any targeting ligand. By the virtue of the size, or by the virtue of molecular weight, or by the virtue of pH, or by the virtue of temperature, or by the virtue of leaky vasculature of the tumor, or by the virtue of chemical nature of the drug, in case of prodrugs, we are going to achieve the passive targeting. We are not going to chemically modify the nanoparticles using a particular ligand. In case of active targeting, we are going to attach a particular ligand which is specific to a particular cell. So where it will be used to target the organs, cells, organelles, or it may be intracellular, for example, mitochondria targeting, or it may be because of physical or external stimuli. So if you apply ultrasound, and then there will be release of the drug, or you can use the spions, that is iron oxide nanoparticles, and then you can use magnetic field to draw the particles to the particular area. So that is physical or external stimuli. So one is biochemical targets, for example, the ligands will be attached, and second one is you can apply the external power to bring the nanoparticles to a particular site. These are the ligands which can be used to the nanoparticles, like carbohydrates, peptides, folic acid, proteins, for example, transferrin. These will be attached to the nanoparticles. For example, liposomes, polymeric nanoparticles, niosomes, or dendrimers, and then we can make the whole system as a targeted drug delivery system. These are the nanocarriers which are used for drug delivery and targeting. One is dendrimer, liposome, solid lipid nanoparticles, nanostructured lipid carriers, polymeric nanoparticles. So these I have separately written this side because we are working on these systems. And apart from that, there are micellar systems, microemulsions, nanocreams, quantum dots, magnetic nanoparticles. So today I will be going to look into the lipidic nanoparticles, liposomes, SLNs, and NLCs. We also work on polymeric nanoparticles as well as dendrimers, but I am not covering in today's topic. These are different types of lipid-based nanocarriers. For example, liposomes. Second one is transferosomes. Liposomes and transferosomes are almost same, but in case of transferosomes, we are using a surfactant that is called as edge activator to make the liposomes ultra flexible. So it is transferosomes are generally used for skin applications because they are ultra flexible and they can easily squeeze between the cells and enter into the systemic circulation when we apply onto the skin. And next is solid lipid nanoparticles, where we are going to use solid lipids to make the nanoparticles. And next one is the nanostructured lipid carriers. So where we are going to use the so where we are going to use the liquid lipids along with solid lipid. But in this case, in solid lipid nanoparticles, both lipids are solid. And the disadvantage of SLN or solid lipid nanoparticles is the drug entrapment is less. And in case of NLCs, nanostructured lipid carriers, the drug entrapment is more. So we will see one by one in little detail. First one is solid lipid nanoparticles. They are popularly known as SLN. They are the submicron particles between 50 to 1000 nanometers made from solid lipids So these are the lipids which are in solid state at room temperature as well as in body temperature. Then surfactants are required and water. So lipids are stabilized by compatible surface active agents. Otherwise, at very minute size range, the particles will tend to aggregate. Toxicity is less as we are going to use physiological lipids, which are less or not cytotoxic. So this is the structure of SLN, that is solid lipid nanoparticle, solid lipid core in which drug is dispersed, and this is the surfactant which is getting adsorbed on the surface. These are the advantages. So these advantages are similar, like other lipidic nanocarriers also have this advantage. That is controlled release, good tolerability, drug targeting, increased bioavailability, incorporation of lipophilic and hydrophilic drugs. Then it has got wide range of applications, like to improve ocular bioavailability, brain targeting, drug delivery via parenteral, pulmonary, or dermal routes. They also can be made stealth. Stealth is nothing but long circulating nanoparticles by using PEG or Pluronics. So this polyethylene glycol, when it is coated or conjugated onto the surface of the nanoparticles, we can overcome the macrophage uptake. These are the examples of the lipids like triglycerides, hard fats, glyceryl monostearate, it is widely used. Then waxes, beeswax, carnauba wax. Then emulsifier is liquid. Usually the process involved is hot homogenization or hot emulsification method, where water and oil phases will be brought into intimate contact with the help of emulsifier. So emulsifier is very, very important. Soy lecithin, egg lecithin, non-ionic surfactants like Pluronics, then cholates, sodium cholate, sodium deoxycholate, these are used as emulsifiers. Then we also can make the particles positive, like positive nanoparticles, positively charged nanoparticles are better absorbed, and hence we can use DOTAP or stereolamine. Then this is the dispersing agent, that is polyvinyl alcohol. Polyvinyl alcohol is also used as stabilizing agent. These are the applications of SLN. So these liposomes, SLN, solid lipid nanoparticles, or NLCs, they have got almost similar applications. Like they are used in cosmeceuticals or cosmetics as carrier for sunscreens and UV blockers. Then in case of topical delivery of drugs such as photophylletoxin, tretinoin, isotretinoin, psoralen, etc., it is used as gel or ointments. Then in case of gene delivery, because the SLNs can be made positively charged, like by using cationic lipids, and then we can easily attach the sRNA or DNA, and because of electrostatic interactions, and then mediate gene transfection and acting as non-viral gene delivery vector carrier for gene delivery. Then chemotherapy, SLNs of rifampicin, INH, and pyrazinamide reduced dosing frequency and enhanced patient compliance. Enhanced efficacy and tumor targeting is reported for SLNs, which are loaded with doxorubicin. So these are some of the applications reported for solid lipid nanoparticles. So next one is liposomes. Liposomes, when we put the phospholipids in water, spontaneously they form the spherical structure. The spherical structure is formed in such a way that there is a core which is containing the aqueous or water, that is the aqueous core at the center, and it is made into spherical shape. The particles will be made themselves into spherical shape, where bilayered lipidic film is formed. Okay, when we put the phospholipids in water, it takes up little water, and the water is present at the center. It is called as aqueous core, and then this aqueous core is surrounded by lipidic bilayer. So this lipidic bilayer is made up of phospholipids. Phospholipids are like amphiphilic molecules having polar head and non-polar tail. So this non-polar tail is extending inside, and hence this environment is non-polar, means hydrophobic or lipophilic in nature, and hence the drug which is hydrophobic or lipophilic in nature will come and sit here. Okay, this is water or the buffer solution, and hence water soluble drug will come and sit here. The beauty of liposomes is you can put different types of drugs. What insoluble drug is encapsulated here, what soluble drug is encapsulated into the aqueous core. These are small artificial spherical vesicles consisting of one or more phospholipid bilayers with an aqueous core. So this is polar head, so it is termed as hydrophilic. This is hydrophobic. This is the tail region. It is like amphiphils or surface active agents which are also having hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail. Drug targeting by liposomes is possible by unmodified liposomes by the virtue of charge or pH, or because of the size, or because of size, they are going to target the reticuloendothelial system, because when we take the simple liposomes, body will identify them as foreign particles and our RES, reticuloendothelial system, will take. Suppose if you are targeting the drugs to RES, that time it is no need to modify the liposomes with ligands. Next is active targeting, where the liposome surface is altered with the help of ligands. Here we are attaching a particular ligand to the liposomes, and whereby the ligand is specific to a particular cell or tissue, and hence targeting is achieved. That is active targeting. This inactive targeting is also termed as passive targeting. And next is we are going to use physical properties like temperature or pH sensitive liposomes, where the liposomes will reach that particular area and release the drug because of the higher temperature or lower temperature, or because of the pH. The advantages are amphiphilicity. You can have both properties, polar as well as non-polar. Next is non-toxic, biocompatible, biodegradable. Improvement in therapeutic activity, safety, absorption, and bioavailability of the drugs. Enhanced intracellular uptake, because you can modify the charge. Cationic liposomes are better taken up by the cells. Sustained release targetability, encapsulate hydrophilic and hydrophilic and lipophilic drugs. So these are the advantages of liposomes. Many liposomal formulations are available in the market, including in India. So first one is SLN, solid lipid nanoparticle. Second one is liposomes, and third one is nanostructured lipid carriers. So these are the recent ones, nanostructured lipid carriers, where we are going to use liquid lipid along with solid lipid. So this is recent generation smart lipid nanocarrier. NLCs are made up of solid lipid matrix and liquid lipid. Despite the presence of liquid lipid, nanostructured lipid carrier matrix is solid at room or body temperature. If you see, this is the stabilizer or surface active agent. Inside the solid lipid is there, and oil is nothing but liquid lipid. So whole system is stabilized, and it contains the NLCs contain the drug. If you want to look into the differences between solid lipid nanoparticle and nanostructured lipid carrier, so here in case of SLN, the drug loading is very, very less, because almost perfect solid lipid matrix is present. In case of NLCs, imperfect lipid matrix consisting of solid and liquid lipids. So this is completely perfect, the structure inside the NLCs, because of solid lipids, and there is no much place for the drug to be encapsulated. Whereas the matrix is imperfect here because of presence of liquid lipid, and hence more drug can be encapsulated. NLCs offer greater drug encapsulation and loading and long-term stability as compared to SLN. So NLCs are more popular nowadays over other lipidic nanocarriers. These are the advantages. They are obviously same as those of SLNs as well as liposomes. Higher drug, but compared to SLNs, they have got the property of higher drug loading and entrapment potential. Modulation of drug release pattern by varying the amount of liquid lipid and solid lipid. Long-term stability of incorporated drug during storage. Then minimum level of surfactant, which with maximum drug loading potential is possible. These are the applications, like topical delivery. Ketoconazole is reported. Ketoconazole loaded nanostructured lipid carriers were physically more stable than the solid lipid nanoparticles. Oral delivery, lovastatin has been reported. Parenteral delivery, there are many reports. I have just selected one or two drugs. NLCs of artemether offered significant improvement in antimalarial activity and duration of action compared to the conventional injectable formulation. Then in case of drug delivery to the brain, NLCs enhanced the intranasal drug delivery of duloxetine in the brain for the treatment of depressive disorder. Then they are also used in pulmonary delivery. Silicaxib was the model drug which was used for pulmonary delivery. So to deposit the drug in the alveolar region of the mouse lungs. Next is chemotherapy, where chemotherapeutic agents are used. Hyaluronic acid coated nanostructured lipid carrier prolong the circulation time of paclitaxel. And then in case of gene delivery also they are used. So where we can make the NLCs cationic and sRNA or gene can be attached onto it. Cosmetics, nutraceuticals, and food industry, where these NLCs are also reported to be used. Then next one is transferosomes. There is no much difference between transferosomes and liposomes. Only thing is we are going to add surfactant in the liposomes, then it becomes ultra deformable, means very flexible. These are ultra deformable vesicles possessing an aqueous core surrounded by the complex lipid bilayer. So this is liposome, which is containing lipids and cholesterol here. Usually we use cholesterol to lesser percent to prevent the leakage of the drug. And in case of transferosomes, that is B, we are going to use surfactant or edge activator in between this lipid, phospholipid, and hence the system will become ultra deformable. Composition and shape of bilayer enables transferosomes to cross the barrier, for example, skin more efficiently. Traditional liposomes are around 100 to 400 nanometer size and it is rigid structure. And transferosomes, usually in transferosomes, we will not include the cholesterol or with very low percentage, but we will add the surface active agent, for example, deoxycholate or we also can use the non-ionic surface active agents to make the vesicles more flexible. Sodium deoxycholate, the classical, one second. So sodium deoxycholate is the classically used surface active agent in case of transferosomes. Surfactant acts as edge activator that destabilizes the lipid bilayers and increases the deformability of the vesicle. Edge activator is nothing but the surfactant which we use here. As I previously told, non-ionic surfactants we generally don't use, for example, tweens or spans, because usually the phospholipids which are used here, there will be leakage when we use non-ionic surface active agents that we have observed in the lab. Usually generally used edge activator is sodium deoxycholate. Components of transferosomes like phospholipids, soy phosphatidylcholine or egg phosphatidylcholine, they are the widely used naturally occurring phospholipids. We also can use synthetic phospholipids like DPPC or DSPC. Then surface active agents, sodium cholate, sodium deoxycholate, span 80 or tween 80. This is how the transport of transferosomes takes place across the membrane. So these are the cells, and these are the cells or the skin structure, and this is the transferosome which gets itself squeezed between the cells and coming into other part, and then it is getting reformed. Then this is the conventional vesicle which is unable to cross the barrier. Then transfusomes have been used as carriers for steroids, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and local anesthetics. So this is the brand, this is the product that is Transphenac, that is topical diclofenac transfusomes, which exhibited higher drug concentration as compared to the hydrogels. Then skin penetration of estradiol was enhanced by transfusomes as compared to conventional liposomes. Insulin transfusomes are also reported. Then they have also been used to deliver the anti-cancer drugs, for example, methotrexate, and herbal drugs, for example, capsaicin. So this is all about the lipidic vesicles, liposomes, solid lipid nanoparticles, nanostructured lipid carriers, and then the transfusomes. Transfusomes and liposomes are almost same, but in case of transfusosome, we are going to use the edge activator or surface activation that makes the lipidic vesicles more flexible. So I'll just show some of the studies which are carried out in our group. So one of the study was aimed to increase asenapine maleate. Asenapine maleate is the drug of choice in bipolar disorder, and its bioavailability is very low. It is only 2% is absorbed when it is given orally. So to improve the absorption into the body, we use transdermal route. Means we prepared the gels containing the transfusomes loaded with asenapine maleate, and then we tried to improve the absorption of the drug by making them transfusomes. But there were two approaches. One is combining the chemical enhancer. We used ethanol as chemical enhancer, and second one is nanocarrier, that is transfusosome. So asenapine maleate is antipsychotic drug. It has got very low bioavailability, and hence we wanted to improve the absorption by applying onto the skin. First, we prepared the transfusomes by thin film hydration method, and they were characterized with several parameters where differential scanning calorimetry showed no compatibility. Then transmission electron microscopic image showed spherical vesicles loaded with drug. Then optimized transfusomes possessed the size of 126 nanometers. Zeta potential was fairly positive, and then entrapment efficiency was around 55%. Then we conducted the skin permeation studies using rat skin, using vertical type diffusion cells, and we got the permeation. I have guest lecture now. 1 second. I'll finish by 3 or 3:10, I think. So in case of skin permeation studies, the rat skin was used, and we used vertical type diffusion cells. We checked the amount of drug. Q24 is nothing but amount of drug permeated at the end of 24th hour. It was 160, 132, and 309 microgram per centimeter square in presence of ethanol, transfusosome, and ethanol plus transfusosome. So by adopting the approach of nanoparticles and chemical permeation enhancer approach, we could be able to achieve very good permeation of the drug across the skin. It is almost double than plain transfusosome, or almost double than the ethanol alone. So we also checked the effect of different enhancers, and ethanol was selected as chemical enhancer. Then initially we prepared the transfusomes containing ASPM, asenapine maleate, and then we loaded into the gels, that is plain drug plus or minus ethanol, and ASPM transfusomes plus or minus ethanol, and then the permeation studies, they showed that combination of nanoparticles or transfusomes along with ethanol, it gave better permeation into the skin, across the skin. Then we also conducted pharmacokinetics study. Then here we applied the gel containing transfusomes and ethanol onto the rats, and then took the blood samples at different time intervals and analyzed for the drug release. And there was increase in the permeation of the drug from the gel into the blood at different time intervals in presence of transferosomes. So finally, caropol gel containing nanotransferosomes and ethanol showed better permeation of S-Nopine maleate through the skin, suggesting synergistic effect from dual approach of nanocarrier and chemical enhancement method. So this was published in a journal. And next study was to develop epigallocatechin 3 gallate, that is EGCG, and hyaluronic acid loaded nanotransferosomes for synergistic EV radiation protection along with antioxidant and anti-aging effect. So here we wanted to use the transferosomes which were loaded with EGCG and HA in the sunscreen cream to have the anti-aging and antioxidant property. So EGCG is popularly used as antioxidant, and next one is hyaluronic acid. It is biocompatible polymer, effective anti-aging agent. So we wanted to have antioxidant as well as anti-aging properties, but by making them into nanotransferosome formulation. So again, transferosomes are prepared by thin hydration method, thin film hydration method, and one was containing EGCG and HA, hyaluronic acid, and second one was containing EGCG alone. So these are some of the tests which we performed, and the spherical vesicles were observed in transmission electron microscopy in the size range of less than 200 nanometers. Then we conducted XRD, X-ray diffraction studies, where we observed that the drug is present in the amorphous form. Then optimized transferosomes, the size was around 100 nanometers, zeta potential was negative, entrapment efficiency was around 75% for EGCG and 50% for hyaluronic acid. And skin permeation study showed that the permeation of EGCG and transferosome was better in the nanotransferosomal formulation. Then we conducted in vitro antioxidant activity, and then it was big study having the cell viability by MTTSA, then lipid peroxidation, intracellular ROS, and finally MMP, that is matrix metalloproteases expression in Hackett cells was observed. So in all these parameters, the transferosome showed better effects. So it got published in one of the good journals. And next was with NLC. So first two studies were with nanotransferosomes, and one we did with liposomes and nanostructured lipid carriers. So here again, S-Nopine was used as model drug, and we prepared S-Nopine maleate liposomes and S-Nopine maleate nanostructured lipid carriers. In case of liposomes, we used thin film hydration method, and we used DSPC and cholesterol. DSPC is synthetic lipid, and this is the flow sheet of, or this is the schematic diagram of method of preparation of liposomes by thin film hydration method. And finally we got rid of the unentrapped drug by centrifugation, and we got the liposomes which is devoid of free drug. The nanostructured lipid carriers were prepared by ultrasound dispersion method. So this GMS, glyceryl monostearate and oleic acid, it was used as the lipidic phase. This is NLCs. NLCs, they contain solid lipid as well as liquid lipid. So this is solid lipid and oleic acid is liquid lipid. So then they were melted, drug was dispersed, and in other beaker we heated the aqueous dispersion of aqueous solution of 280. So both were mixed and probe sonicated. Then the emulsion was cooled, and finally we got nanostructured lipid carriers where the nanoparticles were collected by centrifugation. These are the size, PDA, polydispersity index, zeta potential, and entrapment efficiency of liposome and NLCs. So it was NLCs, you can observe that the drug entrapment efficiency is almost double, and there were discrete lipidic nanoparticles for both liposomes as well as NLCs, which were in the spherical shape as well, and many other parameters were tested, like thermal properties by differential scanning calorimetry, then the XRD for amorphization of the drug, and then drug release studies where the liposomes and NLCs showed prolonged release or sustained release of the drug for longer period of time, and then uptake of free dye, that was FITC, then liposomes and NLCs was carried out in CACO2 cells. And here you can easily make out that the NLCs as well as liposomes, they were better taken up by the cells. Then cell line viability plot for ASPM, ASPM NLC, and ASPM liposomes in CACO2 cells, where the toxicity was not great. It was, they were less toxic, means more than around, okay, more than 90% of the cells were viable. Then we also conducted the permeability studies of free drug, then NLCs, nanostructural lipid carriers, and liposomes through rat ileum. Everted sac ileum method was used here. Then pharmacodynamics properties, that is nothing but the efficacy study of these nanocarriers was conducted in the rats, and where we can see that the liposomes and NLCs, they showed much better therapeutic activity compared to the free drug. Then in case of pharmacokinetics also, where we administered the nanoparticles through the oral cavity into the stomach or into the intestine, and then we checked how much drug is coming into the plasma, and it was much better in the nanoparticulate form compared to the plain drug. So some of the studies, like we also did the biodistribution studies by radiolabeling and then in vivo live imaging, which we conducted with the help of the collaborator in King's College London. And those studies I have not included here. And it got published in one of the journals, that is Nanomedicine. And the collaboration was great in this work. Then we also got one more in material science and engineering C recently. It was with respect to the nanoliposomal. So initially, this paper was with nanostructured lipid carrier, and the second one was with nanoliposomes. Then targeted delivery of drugs using nanovesicles or liposomes, which are conjugated with customized surfactants. So we have synthesized some of the surfactants, and then we are trying to use them as edge activators in the liposomes, and we are also trying to make them as niosomes, and we would like to use them as targeted drug delivery systems, and the work is under progress now. And attaching a specific ligand ensures selective and targeted delivery to the targeted site, unlike the lack of specificity associated with oral route. So this is the system which we are developing, like surface active agent, and this is the drug, lipophilic drug will go and sit here, and this is the ligand, or it may be antibody in many cases. This is the surface active agent which will be having the positive charge, or it may be used as edge activator in case of transferosomes. And this is the aqueous core. So if your drug is soluble here, it will come and sit here. This is one of the targeted delivery of the drugs using nanovesicles. We are trying with liposomes. However, we can also go with the liquid crystalline structures as well as the niosomes. Then we are also working on engineered nanocarriers for oral delivery of proteins. So we are trying to develop the drugs or proteins loaded into nanocarriers to transport into systemic circulation via oral route. So when we take the drug, at that time, once it is getting absorbed to the intestine, it will go to liver through the portal vein, and hence there will be first pass metabolism. To avoid that, we can make the lipidic nanoparticles, and where the lipidic nanoparticles are taken up into the intestinal lymphatic system by one of these parameters, the liver metabolism is avoided, and hence you can get rid of the first pass effect where the bioavailability will be improved. It is possible by paracellular or transcellular route. Or second one is by lymphatic targeting. So lymphatic targeting, if you make simple liposome or NLCs or SLN of very small size, they are getting absorbed like our dietary lipids or dietary fats. Like it is popularly known as chylomicron assisted lymphatic transport system. And second one is M cell mediated lymphatic system. So we worked on both. In case of M cell mediated lymphatic system, we used the RGD peptide to target the M cells. Those M cells are M cells bear the beta-1 integrins, and RGD peptide is specific to those receptors, and hence the particles are directly entering into the lymphatic system. When they enter into the lymphatic system, they will not come to the liver, and hence there will be no degradation of the drug. So this is what we are working on now. This is transcellular or paracellular pathway, and liposomes are decorated with surfactant or dendrimer. Liposomes with lipidated, we are also working on lipidated dendrimers, and then liposome conjugated with ligand. So in some cases, we are also trying to put this ligand as well as this dendrimer also. So it is ligand mediated is taken up by M cell, and chylomicron assisted is taken up like our dietary fats, how the oils and fats are getting absorbed. Transcellular and paracellular is generally taken up by the charge or pH modification. So this is all about the little bit of introduction about the lipidic nanocarriers and their applications and advantages, along with some of the case studies in which we use these nanocarriers for delivery of the drugs. Then coming to the concluding remarks, nanotechnology is a continually evolving field with a lot of applications. They bring multiple advantages like tissue targeting, biochemical protection of drugs, enhancing the pharmacological activity of the drugs. They comprise a vast arena of systems like polymeric nanoparticles, lipidic nanoparticles, then metallic nanoparticles on which we are not working much. Polymeric and lipidic nanocarriers are our interest. And lipidic nanocarriers have been found effective for efficient delivery of drugs via oral as well as other routes of drug administration. So I would like to acknowledge the organizers. Heartfelt thanks to the organizers, especially Manjunath sir, for giving me the opportunity. Then all my research scholars and PG students who worked on these topics. Otherwise, it is not possible to gather a lot of data. And then our institution, yeah. Our institute, that is Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Sciences and University Manipal Academy of Higher Education, for facilities and funding agencies without which it is impossible to take up the research, like DST, DBT, ICMR, BIRAC, VGST, SERP, AICT, and several companies which have funded the research. And our collaborators like University of Queensland, Australia, King's College London, National Chain University Taiwan, NDMC Taiwan, then Naipur Mohali, and Steer Life Bangalore. My heartfelt thanks to all these collaborators. So thank you all for the patient listening. And if there are any concerns, then we can discuss.
So thank you, sir, for that informative talk.
Thank you, madam.
Participants, if you have any questions or doubts, please unmute yourself and ask the question or post the questions in the chat box.
If anyone is interested, you can contact me through this email ID if you have any further clarifications or anything.
Sir, we have a question.
Okay, ma'am.
Sir, how effectively does the drug administered through nanoparticle drug delivery system overcomes first pass effect?
Yeah, first pass effect is mainly because of the drug entering into the liver. Suppose if you bypass the liver entry of the drug, then you can overcome the first pass effect. For example, For example, you can make in the last slides I have shown that how we are going to overcome first pass effect. We are making the lipidic nanocarriers attached with RGD peptide, which is specific to M cells, and when it is attached with RGD peptide, M cells will take up, which are present on the which are present in the Pierce patches in the small intestine, and directly it will deliver the drug into the intestinal lymphatic system. So when it goes into the lymph node instead of the blood capillaries, then automatically it will bypass the liver, because whatever we take the drug, that will through the portal vein, it will go to the liver. So that stage we are bypassing when we target the M cells. Or you also can make the simple nanostructured lipid carriers or lipidic nanocarriers, which are taken up like the chylomicron assisted system, like how our dietary fat and oils are taken up. So by these approaches, you can overcome the first pass effect.
Sir, if we have an essential oil which has bioactive activity, so how to encapsulate with the nanoparticles, sir?
Essential oil we have not worked, sir. It looks a little difficult because the lipids are getting dissolved in that. But we can try that. Maybe polymeric nanoparticles may be useful. Polymeric nanoparticles can be used for essential oil, I think.
Sir, any reference material that you can quote?
No, I don't have. We haven't worked on essential oil encapsulation, sir. So I don't have idea about.
Is it difficult to encapsulate, or how is that, sir?
I don't know. We have not worked on that. It is difficult. Oh. Essential oils. When we try to, for example, if you take limonene or something like that, which are essential oils. So eugenol you can take. So usually those have the tendency to disrupt the and hence it will come out. Maybe polymeric nanoparticles are useful in encapsulating essential oils. I will go through, sir. If there are any references, if I get, I will surely.
Yes, sir. Yes, we have one or two such things in our lab.
Oh, sure, sir. We can think over it. Yeah. Okay, sir. I think I have to go for a meeting at 3:10. I think if there are any queries, you can please contact me.
So I think there are questions, no more questions from the participant side. So I think we'll conclude now, sir. So on behalf of the staff, student and management, the Oxford College of Engineering and Department of Biotechnology Engineering, I take it a privilege to thank you and thanks so much, sir, for your kind consent to accepting and becoming a speaker for FDP Phase 2, which is sponsored by AICTE. We hope to collaborate further also. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
So you may kindly log off, sir.